Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast, part of the Bet Rivers Network. We come to you on this March day as the sports world has heated up, as always is the case. Come mid-March, Selection Sunday is just days away. Conference tournaments underway in a big way. Quarterfinals today for the Big East today in New York for Madison Square Garden. All the football news, and there's plenty of that. The outcries, the indignation over the performance of Adebayo and the other players in that game and what it means. Plus, the players is underway today. Oh, really, the fifth major played on a very tough course with the best field of the year. And honestly, a wide open players. Now, it's just gotten underway. Scheffler's off his game right now. His driving is way off. He's hitting everything right. He's not putting great. Rory's coming off a bad back. He didn't play last week. He'll try and tee off this afternoon. Morikawa already withdrew this morning. So for the other guys, it's wide open right now. Wide open to win a very big, prominent tournament, the fifth major, as they call it. So that's underway. For those of you who care about the World Baseball Classic, which I don't, Italy saved DeRosa's bacon, which I'm happy about because you won't find a better guy than DeRosa. He's a great guy. You know, he's a old Mike and a Mad Dog favorite. He does a good job on TV. He's loved by everybody. He screwed up, okay, but he got out of it. So now it's over with. We don't have to deal with that. Let's start with the NFL. I still want to get to the bottom of the Crosby thing. I think there's a story there, but I think the most likely thing now is he stays in Oakland, which is what he really wants. And if the Raiders are serious about building a team quickly, there is nothing more valuable than a game-changing edge rusher. You have to have one. You see the price that they are costing. You know, other than quarterbacks, edge rushers cost more than anything in the league. Anything. And you have to have one. And if you can draft one, you draft them. They go off the board first. People will trade up for them because they are invaluable. They are must-haves if you want to compete on a serious level. And they're hard to get and they're expensive. Very expensive. So I think he'll wind up staying where he is. I haven't gotten over the Geno Smith thing. I just don't understand the Jets. It's almost like they go out of their way to not only annoy, but to demoralize their fan base. You couldn't have done it. Now, listen, Geno is not the worst quarterback who ever played, but he's not a good quarterback. He's not a winning quarterback. And there are other ways they could have gone at the quarterback position. And maybe they still will. And they'll bring in some competition for him. But it looks like Geno's going to be the quarterback. And boy, that does not inspire any good thoughts, any good football thoughts. And it's just, if you're going to go in a direction where you're trying to elevate, the way to elevate isn't Geno Smith coming off a nightmare season. I know Pete Carroll's saying good things about him, but you know what? That's Pete Carroll. He's a good guy. Geno Smith was awful. He played behind a bad offensive line last year. He played behind a team that really screwed everything up, but he was terrible. He was really terrible. And I'll tell you this, Jet fans, I hate to give you this a year in advance. And it'll probably make you hate the Mannings more if you're a Jet fan and you hate the Mannings already. Because remember, Peyton didn't want to play for the Jets. They will not let Arch Manning play for the Jets. I'm telling you right now, they will manipulate the draft. They will never let him get drafted by the Jets. You could take that to the bank. I'm telling you right now, a year in advance. I don't know where he's going to wind up next year. He's going to be the first player picked on, unless something drastic happens. But he's not going to go to the Jets. I'm just telling you right now, the Jets aren't going to wind up with Arch Manning in 2 years. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen under any circumstances. That family will not allow it. I'm telling you, they will not allow it. Now, for the Giants, I know a lot of Giant fans were shocked, floored, dismayed by the fact that Harbaugh, and remember, this whole free agency shows you where the power is. The general manager, as I talked about a couple weeks ago, made himself look like a fool. This is, I mean, could it have Harbaugh's stamp on it more than it's had so far? If there was a move you would have believed, it was that Neil was going to run out of here, that the Giants couldn't wait for that to happen. And I know the commentary has been, "Oh, I've lost faith in Harbaugh." Come on now. Hey, if any coach has earned the right to be confident in his ability to help turn players around, or to be arrogant enough to feel he can find the key and unlock the talent, John Harbaugh is right at the top of the list. It's not costing a whole lot. If he sees something at a position where players are expensive, let him do it. So what? You might be shocked. He's earned the right to go there. He's good enough. He's got a resume deep enough. He's talented enough to be allowed this digression. I understand you would have thought that there was not a more likely divorce than Neil and the Giants. But so what? It's not expensive. And maybe it'll work. It's a clean slate. That's what you're telling them. It's a clean slate with a top coach, with good coaching, with a good coaching staff, with real leadership, with real game plans, with real discipline, with a real locker room. You know what? Maybe that's what he needed. I don't have a problem with that because it didn't cost them a lot. Look at the bottom line. It's not a big risk. And he has, listen, he's John Harbaugh. He can make these moves and he can go out and overpay for his players. You know, he loves that fullback, so he goes and gets him. He wants an all-world punter, so he goes and overpays for him. So what? That's what he wants. That's the team he wants. He wants his guys. Most guys want their guys. When Parcells came to the Jets, he brought in his guys. Coaches bring in their guys because they trust them and they don't have to teach them. They can count on them. Harbaugh doesn't know yet who he can count on and who he can't. He knows from the Ravens the guys he can count on. He's been through the wars with them. So leave him alone. He knows what he's doing. Duh. The biggest news out of the Giants was the predictable move. The move I predicted to you guys weeks ago, and that was I said the Tisch family's deep. The ownership's going to go down the ladder. That's exactly what happened. He doesn't have to sell the team. He just has to move the team to different people named Tisch. That's all. They didn't do anything wrong. It's not guilt by association. Steve Tisch was the guy who was partying with Epstein. Not these guys. Not these kids. Not the next generation. The Tisches. Now they own the Giants. That's all. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. You're not going to see Steve Tisch around. They handled that the easiest way they could handle it. They weren't going to sell their 40. The Tisches were looking to sell their 45%. And I don't know what's going to happen going forward with the Mara family. I mean, this has been their business for 100 years. John's illness, and we wish him well. I know Chris just had not a big deal, but he just had a hip procedure, but he'll be fine. And he's, I think, excited by, his new role. And the Giants are moving right along as you would expect them to move along. Giants haven't surprised me even a little. Once the word came out that their center was gonna cost an outrageous amount of money, and they weren't gonna go there, you knew, you knew, okay? Now, should things change? Should there be some recanting and some movement and some contracts be undone? Then we'll see what happens, but I don't think that's gonna happen, and I think Max will wind up staying in Oakland. Big East today, 4 games. Again, if you're looking for drama for the NCAA tournament they're on, isn't a lot. If you're looking for drama to see who's gonna go in and who's gonna what's gonna happen with St. John's and UConn, let's be honest, the guys who are going to this, unless you're an alum of one of the schools, you're dying to see St. John's play UConn a third time. I know I am because I wanna see how they react after the embarrassment they took up in Connecticut. Right now, as we start the week, I think UConn's a 2. I think St. John's is a 4 or a 5. I can't tell which one based on a lot of things, moving parts. And I think Villanova is a 6 or a 7. They're all in. Um, I checked with someone last night who does this now on a more deep level than I do. I used to do it because I had to do it for CBS. I don't do it anymore on that level. I know someone who does, and they told me Seton Hall have to win out to get in. They don't even think they'd get out with a trip to the Big East finals. I asked that was the question I asked. If Seton Hall got to the Big East finals, would they be in? They said, no, I don't think so. I think they got over on the table. So everybody else has, according to what I'm hearing, has to run the table. And Villanova's in, and St. John's is in, and UConn is in. Now, Providence, which is going to get rid of Cam English after this thing ends, got to win yesterday. There's no love lost because of the fight this year. Plus, Providence plays St. John's well. There are teams that bother St. John's that have certain types of players who can beat St. John's off the dribble, and they got a couple of them. Plus, they got that outside shooter who's a killer. I mean, I think he had 8 threes yesterday. He had a bundle. Let me see. I think he had a great day from 3. I was watching him. Um, he really had a huge, huge game from 3 last night. Let me see what he wound up with. When it comes up, I'm not getting any. Not getting any play down here right now. I think he was 8 for 13, which is pretty impressive. That's game 1. Oh, here we go. Let me look it up just to give you the exact figure from yesterday. He was Rutgers won. Congratulations to them. They beat Minnesota. They've been playing better. Providence beat Butler 91-81. He had 8 for 13. That's tremendous. He scored 28 points. He had 8 for 13. That's game 1. Game 2 is Seton Hall and Creighton. The winner plays St. John's. UConn plays Xavier. Now, UConn has punished Xavier. They beat him by, I think, 24 and 32. And then Nova plays Georgetown. Georgetown's playing much better. See, I think Cooley's got Georgetown an inch away. They lost a lot of tight games. I watched them play St. John's last week. They should have won the game. They got a lot of bad calls from the officials, and they easily could have won the game. They're playing a lot better, and Villanova better be on their P's and Q's today because Georgetown's playing a lot better. And I would not run Cooley out. I would keep him and supplement that, trying to get him a couple of good players. Hopefully, his players are healthy next year. I think Georgetown would jump up in a big way. That's where we are with the Big East quarterfinals today. Tomorrow night's, if you like the Big East, tomorrow night's the night. You have maybe Seton Hall, St. John's. You have Villanova, UConn, if all the chalk gets through. And then you'd have hopefully St. John's, UConn on Saturday, which would be fun from a standpoint of how they are going to go into the NCAA tournament. See, I don't think either team is a championship team this year. Now Duke and Michigan, which I've told you are on a different level, Duke just lost 2 players. They lost one, their point guard for the whole playoffs with a broken foot. He's gone. He's gone for the whole tournament. One of their other role players is iffy for the rest of the tournament. That's 2 of their top 7 players gone. That changes things a little bit. Now, the second rung is about 10 teams, and I put UConn and St. John's on the back end of that 10. That's Houston, that's Iowa State, Arizona, you know, teams like that. I thought Duke and Michigan were ahead above all year. Now Duke's got the injuries to deal with. So we'll see how that plays out. I think the 1 seeds are going to be Duke, Michigan, Arizona, and Florida. And those 4 teams can all win the national championship. And so can about 3 or 4 other teams. I'm not putting UConn on that level this year. I'm not putting St. John's on that level. I think both could get to the Final Four. I don't think either one will win the championship. I'd be surprised if they did. I want to mention, and I'm not big on records. I'm not big on these in-season performances like, Adebayo playing against a team that's tanking and getting 83 points. And I know that what bothered people was that it broke Kobe's record. That's why, not record, but his performance. Wilt's record is 100. Now, also, here's the thing that the players in those games forget. When you start gimmicking up, he had a great first quarter. All right, which set him up. He's playing a team that doesn't care. Is trying to lose. There's too many of those in the NBA right now. That's why the NBA regular season is an absolute embarrassment and could get a really good guy fired in the commissioner. I like the commissioner, but he could get fired. But he screwed the league up. I hate to admit it, but he screwed the league up. The league has got to value its regular season, and the only way to do that now is to shorten it. They forget economics, forget everything. If they don't shorten the regular season, because these guys don't want to play, they don't have an appetite to play 80 games anymore. If they don't do that, the NBA will never be the same. Adebayo gets 83 points, but what these guys forget is when they start making the game an unnatural act and making it a gimmick to get the guy possessions and get him points by fouling the other team every 2, to maintain, to elongate the game and stuff like that, you cheapen the act. What they don't understand is he would get more credit from the media if he scored a legitimate 68 than he would if he scored a gimmicky and tricked up 83, which is the case. Now, a lot of guys went to the Wilt game, which nobody ever saw because it wasn't on television, and talked about how that game was tricked up, and it was at the end. It was tricked up. But here's the thing. I heard people in the last 24 hours knocking Chamberlain. Are you a fool? Are you just a complete fool? If you want to knock Bam Adebayo for an 83-point performance that was tricked up, go ahead. If you want to knock some of the guys who have, taken every shot and done different things to get their big point total once in their life. But when you bring up the name Wilt Chamberlain, you better know what you're talking about. Because when you knock him, you sound like a complete moron. Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points. Big deal. Wilt Chamberlain could have scored 100 points 100 times. Wilt Chamberlain scored 70 points 6 times. No one ever did it more than once. Wilt Chamberlain scored 60 or more points 32 times. It's only been done 60 times in the history of the league. He did it 32. The only man to score 40 points a game in the NBA is Wilt Chamberlain. He did it 4 times. He averaged 43, 45, 49. He averaged 50 and 43 other times. The 5th highest scoring average of all time is Michael Jordan at 37-1. Will Chamberlain averaged 50 points a game. If you average 50 points a game, all of a sudden 70 points isn't a big deal. When a guy scores 20 points for his career or 18 points a game and he scores 80, it's tricked up. When a guy averages 50 points a game, you know what? Those numbers are real. He averaged 50 points a game for the season. That means if he scored 30 one night, he had to score 70 to be on his average. He scored over 76 times. And he scored over 60 32 times. Plus, if you want to get into the rebound totals, he has 4 to 5 highest of all time, 55, 49, 45, and 43. So the guy could get 55 rebounds. There's nothing he couldn't do on the court. He was that dominant. It was a different game then. I'm not saying it wasn't. There was no three-point goal. It was a very different game. The size of the players was different. And he was bigger and more athletic and a freak. We all know that. But the bottom line is don't devalue who he was. He was a player of immense ability and strength and athleticism. So don't compare what he did in 100, even though the end of his game was tricked up when the man averaged 50 points a game and is the only guy ever to average 40 points a game in the history of the league. It just sounds stupid. But the players missed the point there. If you just let the game happen naturally, let it happen organically, and don't gimmick the game up at the end, then the player's performance stands as a real performance, even against a bad team. But that got silly the other night. I agree. And then people went back and detracted from Chamberlain's performance. But you know what? Look at the history books. Look at what you know a little bit about what you're talking about before you knock Chamberlain. Because him having a big night was not a new occurrence. He averaged 50 points a game. Think about that. 50 points a game. That's insane when you think about it. The problem with the league, though, is you have teams like Washington. You have too many teams tanking. You have load management, which has destroyed the regular season completely. The NBA is an utter disaster. They had to come up with a gimmick championship thing. It doesn't work at all. The NBA has a real problem that will have to be dealt with in a way that no league has ever dealt with, and that is with the shrinking of the regular season schedule. It is the only alternative that will work for the NBA, and the owners and the Players Association are going to have to bite the bullet. They are making a complete fortune. Every star in that league is making an absolute ridiculous amount of money. Why would they want something different? Both agree on a season they can live with and accentuate the playoffs, which is really what it's all about. They have devalued the regular season. I don't even watch the NBA regular season now. It is so bad. Will I watch the playoffs? Absolutely. I like the playoffs. I will not even look at the regular season. It is so devalued. I mean, it's become a foregone conclusion. Oh, back-to-back nights. Oh, playing back-to-back nights. Oh, geez. We don't do that. We don't do that. We don't play our guys back-to-back nights. Give me a break. It has become farcical. It really has. Now, I can tell you this. The Adebayo thing, the story isn't really the gimmick and everything else. The story is that is the most out of character performance that we have just about ever seen. That's like a guy who hits, 15 home runs on the season or 12 home runs on a season and has never had 20 home runs in a season in his career going out and having a 4 home run day. I mean, it's just bizarre that he would be a guy that could score that many points. If I was gonna give you a list of guys and tell me, "Here, one of these guys is gonna score 83 points this year, take a pick," he wouldn't have been in the top 50. That's the bizarre nature of this whole thing. Yes, they gimmicked it up. Yes, they tricked it up and they cheapened it. And they have to realize that they cheapen it when they do that. But do not, do not trample on the legend of Will Chamberlain because you're upset about what happened with Bam Adebayo, and you're trying to protect the legend of Kobe Bryant. No player in the history of the league has ever had 270 or more performances. Will Chamberlain has 7. Excuse me, 6. If you ca 6 overall, and 32 more over 60. His numbers were that prodigious. They were that special. They were that outrageous. Different world, different league, different time. Big men's ruled. It was almost a prehistoric time in the NBA, but he was that overpowering. You don't have any y I f I love the way the, NFL orchestrates free agency and how they put themselves back front and center for a couple of days right after their season ends, which is just genius. Just genius. See, the NFL just does it with pockets in the offseason. Hey, we shut down after the Super Bowl. We come back in March with free agency. We come back with the schedule. We come back with the draft. We keep ourselves right there. Boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, we come back and dominate on a daily basis. And now look at them, even looking to step into Wednesday night of the Thanksgiving holiday with another game. I mean, if there wasn't a law on the books, they'd be playing every day of the week. They're not allowed to play Friday and Saturday, as you know, during the football, co during the high school and the college season, they're not allowed to play on Friday and Saturday by law. If it wasn't that way, I'm telling you, there might be a day left for them that they don't play on. Think about it, 3 games now on Thanksgiving, 1 on the night before Thanksgiving they're talking about, and it will do well. But I guarantee you it'll be on Amazon or it'll be on Peacock or it'll be on one of those. It won't be on regular TV. You can take that to the bank because it's all about making money. Same thing as all these games all over the world coming up. Games in Australia, games everywhere. All right, a couple things before I finish up with a couple emails. Opening day will be here before you know it. Hey, today's a cold, raw day in New York. It might even snow a little bit. Not going to stick. Don't worry. Um, but the 25th, the Yankees and the Giants, and you take a look at the Giants' spring training record. I think they're 16-3. Um, Opening day will be here before you know it. And Bet Rivers is helping you get back into the box score watching with the spring training bonus bet. Bettors in New York and New Jersey can get a $10 bonus bet to use on spring training games when they enter the code Francesa, Francesa 226, Francesa 226 in their Bet Rivers app. The code again, Francesa226 if you didn't get it the first time. It's available to Bet Rivers bettors in New York and New Jersey. Offer ends March 14th. Must be 21 or older. Eligible players only. Gambling problem, 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPENY, all in caps. As for the newsletter, send your questions to Mike Francesa Podcast at gmail.com. And don't forget to take a minute to subscribe to the free Mike Francesa newsletter. You get exclusive content and chances to win prizes. They got a couple of interesting things coming up, interactive things coming up in the weeks to come as gifts. So go to Mike Francesa Podcast at gmail.com and sign up today. All right, let me get a couple emails in before we bid you adieu. We'll be with you a lot this weekend. Selection Sunday, everything else. Don't worry, we got a lot to do. Oscars Sunday night. Looking forward to that. I'm very much looking forward to that. I like the Oscars. It's tedious for a while, I know, but I want to see who wins. I'm interested in that stuff. All right, let me get to the emails. Here we go. Emails. All right, here we go. All right. Jerry starts us off with the Falcons signing Tua. Should the Jets try to make a trade for Penix? Listen, the Falcons got Tua for a couple of reasons. One, where do you get a quarterback for minimum who's 44 and 32 in his career and has had some very good statistical years? Now, Tua is a pop gun quarterback. He does not have a strong arm, but Tua is not a bum quarterback. He can play the position. He's 44 and 32 as a starter. He's got some weaknesses. Now, one of the things about playing in Atlanta, number one, they still hope that Penix becomes their quarterback. Number two, they now have both primary quarterbacks as left-handed quarterbacks, which makes a big difference in your protections, in how you run your offense, and even in the way the ball goes to the receivers. It spins differently. So there's a big plus there. Number two, Atlanta's schedule is perfect for Tua. Tua can't handle inclement weather. He can't handle wind or rain or cold or anything because he doesn't have a strong arm. And he's a Hawaiian kid who doesn't like cold weather. And he also doesn't have a strong arm. So he's a timing quarterback. So you're in Atlanta, you're in a dome. You're in a division with either dome or no cold weather games. So basically, your whole season, with maybe one exception, we didn't see it yet, but maybe one exception, they are going to play in perfect Tua weather. He also is going to play behind the best offensive line he ever played behind, and he's got real talent there. I would not be the least bit surprised. Plus, they got him for veteran minimum because Tua's contract had to be bought out. It cost Miami $99 million to buy out the contract. So Atlanta's paying him veteran minimum for a quarterback who can start for them. I think Tua's going to wind up being a starting quarterback. So are they going to deal him? They're not going to deal him. They want him. John, the Jet plan is clear. They bring in Geno, who's the bottom 3 starter in the league. They are tanking. Listen, I don't believe they are tanking. I think they know they aren't going to be very good. Not in one swoop. But, hey, they have to be better. If they're not better, the coach is going to get fired. They're not going to let him have another year like last year. Their fans won't go to the games. It's not gonna happen. They can't afford that. They're gonna try and win some games. They went out and hopefully improved their defense. They're gonna try and piece things together. They're just not trying to do it in 1 year. They know they can't do it in 1 year. They're too far down. They need too much. And the quarterback they are going to get, they think is next year's quarterback, not this year's quarterback. But I'm gonna tell them one hard thing. If they finish with the worst record, the Mannings are gonna manipulate themselves out of the Jets. I'm telling you right now. They're never gonna go there. They're never gonna go near him. Just like Eli did, they're gonna do it again. It might not be popular. It might be very unpopular. They always have the threat of letting them stay in school. And remember, staying in school is not a hardship when your family's wealthy, when your uncle's worth a king's ransom and your father's worth a lot of money, and you get paid about $8 million to play at the University of Texas. Not like he's not making money and has commercials. He's got Vori commercials, and he's making $8 million at the University of Texas. So it's not like he's not getting paid. He could spend another year there if he has to. He's not going to the Jets. I know it's not fair. It's not right. It's not nice, but he's not going to the Jets. Kyle, given his natural ability and his stoic demeanor, what pitcher, past or present, does Skeens most remind you of? Well, Skeens has an efficiency like Tom Seaver. His style doesn't remind me of Tom Seaver. He physically doesn't remind me of Tom Seaver, but his performance reminds me of Tom Seaver. He's that good. And Seaver was as good at the best pitcher I ever saw, without any question, was Sandy Koufax. Not even close. No one's been in his league. No one. Overly dominant. Unbelievable. But the most consistent pitcher I saw for an entire career, when you take into how short Sandy's career was Tom Seaver. Tom Seaver was ultra consistent all the time. Great competitor. Now, did Seaver and I get along? No, we didn't at all. But the bottom line is, I don't care about that. He was great. He was a great pitcher. Great pitcher. And Skeens is an incredible. I watched Skeens pitch those 4 innings the other night. I mean, the guy's just he's going to make he's going to make $400 million, $500 million in a couple of years. But who does he remind me of? I mean, as far as exactly somebody, I mean, he's got Seaver type ability, and that's a great compliment. Do you remember when Yankee fans would throw money onto the field for Reggie Jackson? I remember they throw all kinds of things. They threw Reggie bars. I, I don't. You know what? I don't. It's you're going back a long time now. I don't remember what they threw. I mean, they threw a whole bunch of stuff, but who cares? I mean, that's just silly stuff. I mean, who cares? Here's the deal. I never liked Reggie with the Yankees. I never wanted Reggie with the Yankees, but when the big game came along, Reggie produced. That's the bottom line. He did. Did he make the team better in the playoffs? He did, yeah. Yankees needed power, and Reggie supplied power. They had a team that was in the World Series, but it was a pop gun offense. The only guy who hit a home run against the Reds when they got swept 4 games was Jim Mason. They didn't have a lot of power. Nettles had power, but that was basically it. Chambliss, Munson were kind of 15, 18 home run guys. Reggie gave him power, real power. And he had a ability to rise up and play great in the big game. Can't take that away from him. Can't take it away from him. When he, Reggie was one of the great World Series performers ever. Just look at the numbers. He did the job. Did I like all the nonsense with him and Billy and George? I didn't. I didn't like that part of the Yankee thing. I didn't. And I always remind people that, Reggie should not be treated like a Yankee immortal because he only played 5 years with the Yankees. It's not like he played 15 or 18, he played 5. So, I mean, they were an interesting 5, but that's all they were. But, hey, it was a crazy time, that's for sure. And those teams were tough teams. You could pin those teams up against anybody. Those 77, 78 teams could beat anybody. I'm being honest. They were gritty. They didn't like each other. They fought among themselves, but they were as gritty and gutty and tough a team. I'll put those teams up against anybody. They would fight any. They could beat any. They could beat the 61 Yankees. They could beat the 96 Yankees, and those are all great teams. 61 Yankees was a lot of people think the best team ever. Uh, Obviously, you had so much power in pitching. Whitey Ford's 25 and 4. Maris hits 61. Mantle hits 54. Team they break records. They got how many guys who hit home runs? They got 3 catches hit home runs. They got power everywhere you turn around. They were a great fielding, great pitching. Louis Arroyo out of the bullpen. They were a great team. Great fielding. I mean, they did everything right. The 96 team loved it. Loved it. 77 and 78 teams, they were tough. You would have to fight them to the death to beat them. That's for sure. They were a gritty team, really gutty and gritty. We'll see you later.